Hi, I just finished this Prism table runner by Quiltworx, and I'm going to show you how to bind the strange angle that it has. The two ends are a perfect 90-degree angle, but then there are two angles on each end that are not. And if you want a perfect miter, I'm going to show you how to do it. So as you can see, the end of the table runner is a perfect square 90-degree angle. But then when you look at these points, they are not a perfect square. So in order to bind them, we have to do our regular 1/4 inch seam, and we have to sew off, and that becomes your miter. So what you're aiming for is something like this. So here's my angle, and I did it on a piece of paper so you could see it a little bit better because my fabric was so busy. And if you were to mark where your 1/4 inch seam line is going to be, it's a 1/4 inch from one edge and it's a 1/4 inch from the other edge, and right where they intersect, you're going to sew off. You're going to stop and needle down, and then you're going to sew off at that point. And to know what angle to sew off at, you can draw from the point to that intersection a straight line, and that becomes your miter line. So you're sewing along your binding, and then you sew straight off the point. So I used a red thread so you could see it, and I sewed my 1/4 inch seam. I needled down right at that point where they intersected, and then I sewed off on my straight line. It's just a couple stitches, but it really helps because the next step is when you're going to turn your corner. So I've got that straight line there, and if I fold my binding on that straight line, you can see how my miter is going to be right to my corner, which is just where I want it to be. And I want to turn the corner, so I'm going to keep that folded right there on the miter, but I'm going to line up my binding along my raw edge, and I'm going to do it right from the point. There's no hanging over here. There's only a little flap here because it's not a 90-degree, it's a 45-degree angle. So I've got myself lined up, and now I'm going to sew that 1/4 inch, and I can actually start from the edge. I don't have to start from where I needled down and pivoted. I can start from right on the edge of the table runner. So I'm going to put my needle in, and I'm going to sew my 1/4 inch seam, and then I'm going to flip this around to the back side. So there it is. I've sewed along my 1/4 inch. I sewed straight off. Here's the threads. I can show you which direction I sewed straight off that point. And then I folded my fabric along that line that I stitched off. And then I folded it down so that it matches my raw edge. And then there's my 1/4 inch seam. I started up here and I went right over the fold and kept on going. When I fold it over, I have a nice miter right there where it needs to be. And then when I fold it over to the back, and I fold over the other side, I can make that edge meet perfectly at that point, and my fold is a nice mitered fold right there. That's how you get that 45-degree miter.